How are y'all doing this evening? I hope y'all are warm, because it's going to be a lot colder outside when you walk out. If you have your Bibles this evening, and I pray that you do, please turn to 2 Kings chapter 19. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 14. Please stand. 2 Kings 19, verse 14. Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And Hezekiah went up to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord and said, O Lord, the God of Israel, enthroned above the cherubim, you are the God, you alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see, and hear the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to mock the living God. Truly, O Lord, the kings of Assyria have laid waste the nations in their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire, for they were not gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore they were destroyed. So now, O Lord, our God, save us, please, from his hand, that all kingdoms of the earth may know that you, O Lord, are God alone. May God bless the reading and the teaching of his word. You may be seated. A surprising number of Christians never do develop a healthy prayer life. When you talk to somebody or get a group together, it seems like prayer is almost sadly usually the last thing mentioned. Prayer is often reduced to a little more than a formality before eating dinner or lunch or whatever, or a hasty word at the end of the day, or at a last resort. You know, they say there are no atheists in foxholes when someone has nowhere else to turn. But this is very counter to what Jesus said and what Jesus taught us to do in his word. He led a life of prayer, praying often, making time to pray, carving time out of his day to pray. His disciples took note of it and asked him to teach them to pray. And we all know that storms will come. Hezekiah here was in a storm. Sennacherib was coming. He was the king of Assyria at this time. And he was saying, and he had just taken over the northern kingdom of Israel. And he's like, hey, Hezekiah, I'm knocking on Judah's door, and this is what I'm going to do. And Hezekiah, the way Hezekiah responded was because he had been leading a healthy prayer life. He had been leading a life up to then for God. And when Hezekiah comes on the scene in chapter 18, he was 25 years old. And it says he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that David, his father, done. He had removed the high places scattered across the land. He had removed the Asherah poles and several other things. He was doing what God wanted him to do, and he was leading that life of prayer. So he immediately knew what to do. Immediately. He went into the temple, and he was like, hey, God, this is yours. You take care of it. I'm in a storm right now. I can't handle it. You need to take this. Talking about how prayer seems to kind of get on the back burner in our lives. And fall RA training, I'm a resident assistant at Mississippi College, and we go through this week-long training at the beginning of each year. Michael Manuel, the former pastor of Clinton Pine Lake campus, came and spoke to the guys of the group. And for some reason, the guys were over here, and they separated the girls over here. And we were discussing how to lead discipleship and how to grow discipleship and how to disciple somebody. And he got on the whiteboard, and we were coming up with all these ideas, and we're like, oh, yeah, we got this. And we get kind of to the end, and he's like, I can't believe that we've forgotten the most important thing that we should do first. And that was prayer. And then we were all like kicking ourselves because like, that's right. Prayer should be the first thing we go to whenever it happens. Hezekiah knew that that's what needed to be done. He knew that the only way to get comfort from this or to find a solution was to first go to God. No matter what we're doing, whether things are going good, pray. Whether things are going bad, pray. Whether things are in the middle, pray. Pray daily. Pray often. Prayer is the conversations that we have to know and grow in God, and grow in knowledge of God, and grow in a relationship with God. If you're in a relationship with somebody, are you just going to let them stand right there and you stand right here and you just go? And just kind of acknowledge them every now and then? That relationship's not going to last. That marriage wouldn't last if it was a marriage. You can't have a relationship with someone without talking to them. Prayer is our way of doing that. It doesn't matter what position you pray in. You can pray standing up, kneeling, spread it out like Hezekiah did, sitting. It doesn't matter. It's the conversation you have and making the time to have that conversation. Don't stop praying. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, pray without ceasing. That means don't stop. Luke 18:1-8 tells a parable about the persistent widow and how she's just constantly coming to this king, asking him to do this, asking him to do this. And he finally gives in. That's not that we need to annoy God all the time. It's just to say, hey, for a result, you're going to have to keep praying and keep doing and keep working at it. Pray with persistence and continuity. Take a hunter, for example. Let's take Aaron, for example, because I know he hunts. He wants to kill a deer this year. Is he going to go out there one time to the tree stand and sit for one day and then not come back? No, he's going to keep going. He's going to keep going out there to try and get a deer. Same thing with prayer. Keep praying. Pray without ceasing. Something that I like to do as I'm going throughout the day is that if I see something, I'll just kind of go, God, what do you mean by that? Or, God, you do have a sense of humor. Or, what was this, God? Or something like that. And that kind of helps to prolong the conversation with God, to just keep bringing things up and up again and just to talk to Him about it. Because He is the one that knows everything. In one of my classes, we had to read a book this year, and something really stuck out to me about prayer. And it said, when you go to a crowd, you sit down and you're looking at the crowd, because you know we all people watch. I love the people watch. That's the only reason why I'm okay with going to the mall with Mama or Caitlin. Because I'll sit there and people watch. Well, this is saying, while you people watch, to pray for the people while you're people watching. And it helps you to grow in that prayer life. That way when the storm does come, you're like, oh, I know what to do. And, you know, as humans, we try and take care of things ourselves. I know I do. I like trying to fix things, whether it's emotionally, physically, something that I can hold in my hands or something I can't. I like to fix things. Well, I can't fix things. I'm a sinner. I'm not perfect. I can't do it. But God can. God can. And that's why we need to have that healthy prayer life to know, oh, when I can't do something, or rather, even before you even think about going to try and fix something, you go to prayer. Just immediately. It shouldn't even be a thought of trying to take care of it yourself. Even if you know you can take care of it yourself. Go straight to prayer. Because when those storms come, you won't even have to think. Pray with persistence and continuity. Pray without ceasing. Don't get upset when God doesn't answer your prayer or answer the prayer the way you wanted. Funny enough, coming to church this morning, the Garth Brooks song was on the radio, and I was like, that's funny, because I'm talking about that tonight. Or God led me to talk about that tonight. And I was like, it's really true. There are prayers that, in our mind, that we think, oh, this would be good. this should happen this way. This would be nice for me and them, but it may not be. There are several unanswered prayers in the Bible. Take Paul, for example. Paul pleaded with God, God, please take this thorn from me, from my side. God was like, no, this will help you in the long run, I promise. I know you don't see it right now, but I promise. It'll do good. And then one of the biggest unanswered prayers in the Bible, Jesus said, Father, take this cup from me. Just think if God had answered that prayer, where would we be? God knows the bigger picture. I read a book by C.S. Lewis over the summer, and the analogy he used I find very remarkable. And he said, take a piece of paper and draw a line on it. And he's like, that line is the timeline of humanity, and the paper is God. That paper is touching every point of that line, past, future, and present. He knows what happened then, he knows what's happening now, and he knows what will happen. He knows how dropping a pin on the ground will affect something later on. Very minute, every point. You can get down to lots of 0.0000 inches on that line. He knows it. So therefore, he knows whether or not the prayer we're praying right now will benefit us or hurt us in the long run. And when he doesn't answer our prayers, it's not to sit back and go, I'm just going to let them stew in that for a little bit, see what happens. No, it's not that at all. It's to help grow us. There's some storms in life that God doesn't say, I'll take it from you as soon as you pray. Storms and tests in life are to refine us and grow us stronger. There's a poem in a devotional book, A Look at Life in a Deer Stand. I think that's the name of it, by Steve Chapman. And it's talking about how the farmer is preparing the field and having to hurt the soil to remove the rocks and the weeds and the things like that to tilling the soil. And it will be able to produce beautiful plants later on, but right now he's having to toil it and till it and things like that. To refine a diamond, it takes enormous heat and pressure to make something beautiful. It's the same thing with us in those moments of unanswered prayers. It's the same thing. Sometimes God doesn't snap his fingers and take burdens off of us because we want it off of us. Because right now we think it would be better for us in the long run. Take me for example. There were some people who was like, I can't believe you of all people would have cancer. And I'm like, why would you say that? It's just because you're awesome, Jake. I'm not awesome. No. This is God speaking through me to you maybe, or to that person. Because I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting on the couch and watching TV. Because that's all I did. God can take each and every situation that we don't like or we don't want right now and do something about it. And remember, the tough times will come. 2 Timothy 3:12. All who desire to live a godly life with Jesus Christ will be persecuted. But when those times comes, do like Hezekiah. Remember that healthy prayer life that all you have to do is just pray immediately without even thinking about it? Do like Hezekiah. Philippians 4:4-7 is something that I believe is one of the most beautiful passages about a storm in life and prayer. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. Lord's at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That peace of God is what gets us through those storms of life. That peace of God is what gets us through those moments that we think we can't handle. I mean, it surpasses all understanding, guys. It seriously does. And all you got to do is don't worry about it and give it to God, and He'll get you through it. Maybe not in the way you wanted, but He'll get you through it. When we have a good prayer life, not worrying about anything, but immediately taking it to God, will give you peace, I promise. As our instrumentalists close, just remember that. Immediately take it before God. You may not have to literally get on the floor in a church or a temple or somewhere and spread it out, but just take it to the Lord. Give it to Him. Don't worry about it, and He'll give you peace.
Would you stand as we have our hymn of invitation?